Hi guys, it's been a while and I thought I'd get back to this again. So, see, there are a few more subscribers and I hope that it might have been useful, some of the things I've done. Um, as I've said many times before, I don't claim to have any special knowledge. I do have some insight into Westerners coming to Buddhism and what they might expect. Some people might say what a newcomer to Buddhism from the West discovers first is probably his or her own karma. So if you discover one type of Buddhism, that's the Buddhism for you. But I think that we can help karma along a little bit here, or we can include a certain amount of uh, research knowledge as part of the karmic experience. So uh, what I'm doing is to just try to give some guidance about the different kinds of Buddhism and basically what they're about. Some potted ideas or brief surveys, synopses about certain aspects of Buddhism which are quite complicated, just to give people a brief idea, and then later, if they're really interested, they can go into it in more detail for themselves, or maybe they never will do that, and at least they have a basic knowledge. So that's what we do on this channel. So I thought this time we could look at the different types of Buddhism that a Westerner is likely to come across, likely to be faced with. Um, the earliest form of Buddhism that's still available to us today is Theravada Buddhism, sometimes called the Hinayana by the Mahayana Buddhists. So Theravada, um, this means the wisdom of the elders, really. So it's the earliest form of Buddhism in a language, Pali, which is quite near to the language the Buddha spoke. And there is an immense amount of material. Uh, it's called the Tipitaka, and it's in what they call three baskets. One basket is the basket of the suttas, where the Buddha tells us about, or we are told about what the Buddha actually said, his teachings. And these teachings were put down at the first Buddhist council by the people who actually remembered what he'd said. So it's pretty accurate, probably, to the words of the original Buddha. The other basket, and another basket, is a Vinaya, which is the rules for the monks, really, and there are lots of them. They have 227, I believe, which they have to keep. If you're a Theravada lay Buddhist, you have 5 precepts which you need to keep. The proliferation of precepts, if you're a monk, 227, are still kind of based on the 5 basic precepts, but many, many more about every aspect of the basic 5 precepts. Yeah, and the third basket is the Abhidhamma, or teachings and commentaries about Buddhism. Traditionally, it was also said that the Buddha taught this in the Tushita heaven, but I think most people really accept that it's later Buddhists writing commentaries. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's not the words of the Buddha, probably. So we have those 3 baskets. It's an immense amount of material. Probably no one could really get through all of it in a lifetime. Well, they might, of course, but I mean, it would be a major task. And this is a kind of Buddhism that you'll find in Thailand, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Laos, Myanmar. So Southeast Asian Buddhism, we might call it today. It's probably the most severe or strict, let's say, form of Buddhism, but also very close to what the Buddha originally taught, with its emphasis on sila, or ethics, samadhi, or concentration, meditation, and panya, wisdom. So there is the idea that all these 3 things must go together to to get success. Success being some movement towards final insight or enlightenment. Of course, there's also the Mahayana, which is means a greater or the bigger pathway. Hinayana means a narrow pathway, really. So Mahayana developed probably hundreds of years after the Buddha passed away, and it's probably further away from the teachings of the original Buddha. It's a kind of Buddhism that's practiced in places like China and the Far East, Japan, Vietnam, Korea. So it concentrates on things like Pure Lands, and it's a bit like Christianity, perhaps in some ways. You praying to go to heaven all the time, or the Pure Land of a particular Buddha. Some people think that these Pure Lands are developments or corruptions even of earlier teachings by the Theravada Buddhists about special places, realms for anagamis to go to. Anagamis are people who are nearly enlightened and they just need a little bit of work to finish off their enlightenment, and there are special abodes for them to go to. So, but of course, not everybody can go there. You have to be an anagami to get there. However, some people believe that this was later developed in a more liberal way so that everybody could go to a Pure Land. So there is a lot of Pure Land Buddhism in Mahayana, and of course Mahayana also saw the development of Vajrayana as well, or what we call Tibetan Buddhism today, which includes a lot of Tantra, which is very Hindu based, really. So different kinds of Tantra, from ordinary Tantra to highest yoga Tantra, and also Dzogchen, which is some method which is supposed to lead you to enlightenment, not through reasoning or study or thinking, but just by clear awareness, by insight. And so it's perhaps similar to some other forms of Buddhism as well in the Mahayana tradition. So we can include the Vajrayana as part of the Mahayana. It's all very complicated, really, and these are all might even be included as or classified as different kinds of Buddhism, the Mahayana and the Vajrayana. And then there is the Theravada too. So you might find yourself introduced to any of these. It's up to you what you decide, but I would say that the Theravada is the nearest to the original teachings of the Buddha. Mahayana is development of that, and it concentrates on the teachings of the original Buddha far less, as perhaps more faith-based, with its emphasis on the Pure Lands and the Pure Abodes. And then you have Vajrayana, which is Tantra based and more similar in many ways to Hinduism, especially with its emphasis on gurus. Theravada is much more about teachers. Vajrayana, much more about gurus. It's said that at this time, hundreds of years after the Buddha, that Hinduism was reasserting itself against Buddhism in India. And so Buddhism perhaps adapted in some ways and made itself a bit more similar to Hinduism. So there we are. The Tibetans have been very good at popularizing their form of Buddhism. So it's a choice, really. You have to see what you think. It's a world in itself, and there are many teachings by Tibetan and Indian teachers, and you often won't hear an awful lot about the words of the original Buddha in these forms of Buddhism. After that, you have oh, particular branches of perhaps Mahayana, like Zen, which is perhaps similar to Vajrayana in some ways, um, certainly similar to Dzogchen. Um, and outside these three or four main categories, three main categories, is it? One, two, three. Outside these three main categories, you have some sort of outliers which are quite popular in the West, like uh, Nichiren Buddhism, the Soka Gakkai, which to me isn't really Buddhism at all. It's um, they're repeating this slogan about Nam Myoho Renge Kyo all the time, which means I believe in the Lotus Sutra, which is a Mahayana sutra anyway. It's not something you'll read in the Theravada tradition, so the Theravadins say that it's something not written by the Buddha or not about the Buddha, but written by later monks with new ideas. So that's not to say that these are bad teachings, but um, I think that a form of Buddhism that reduces itself to really talking about believing in the Lotus Sutra and chanting various things, and where that is the only basis of the practice, really, which may be a simplification, but I believe that Nichiren Buddhism is basically about chanting certain things and believing in the efficacy of that. Isn't really Buddhism as we know it. However, it is very popular in the West, so you should be aware of that as well. And if you take it on board, I hope it goes well. But it's not really original Buddhism in any shape or form. So these are the major types of Buddhism people are likely to come across. There's also what they call secular Buddhism, which is kind of taking insights about meditation from Buddhism without including any of the other details, which is not likely to lead to success, in my opinion, because meditation needs to be based on the Eightfold Path, other aspects of Buddhism too, like sila, keeping good ethics, and all sorts of things. Really, having the right mindset, samadhi, having one pointed concentration based on what the Buddha tells us in the suttas. So I don't really think that secular Buddhism will do much for you other than maybe make you feel briefly calmed down, but there's not going to be any long-lasting changes, in my opinion. So these are the basic forms of Buddhism you're likely to come across, and whichever one you find and choose, I wish you the best of luck with it. Choose well. So see you next time.